Welcome back to the farm, everyone. Everyone's getting wrapped up with planting season. People are tying up loose ends. Here comes Jason, I believe, to plant this field to my left. Sometimes it's easier just to get off the road, give people the right of way so they don't have to struggle with getting over too far in the ditch or all the headaches with road travel. Since it's nice and dry, Helena's been out and about side dressing all of our earlier planted corn, getting that nitrogen on so we can hopefully still salvage this late planted corn crop and have some high yields. It's a beautiful day to scout some corn. It doesn't hurt that it feels like we have maximum yield potential on the table, moisture in the soil, a great stand of phenomenal genetics, plenty of fertility, and of course, no weed competition out in the fields. Let's just take it in. There's not a weed inside out here. That's the way I prefer it. I could walk across this whole field and I'm not sure I'd find much anything. Not saying there's not a weed or two in spots, whether from operator error or just insanely high weed pressure. For the most part, this is what you're gonna get. This volunteer corn plant will have to be our consolation prize. That's the only thing I've found so far walking through this field. Oh, and a rock. We'll count that too. I'm not having much luck with anything else. Weed-free fields are the goal, and Syngenta's products like Acuron are the name of the game. On fields just like this one, we have trusted Acuron and Syngenta's other corn herbicide products, arguably the most premium and effective on the market, for over a decade and then some now. We've had nothing but great things to say about their products, whether it be the value they provide, the crop safety, or just the general efficacy against weeds like water hemp, giant ragweed, some of those troublemakers that we fight every year, it seems like. As farmers, we all know that there are a lot of options in the market, whether it be what tractors we use, what seed we plant, or in this case, what corn herbicide programs we like to make use of. And I'll admit, a lot of them are very alluring. They draw your attention because of their discount pricing. They're a lot cheaper than some of the competitive products. The issue is, like many things in life, you get what you pay for, or you don't get any more than you pay for. And these products, which are definitely cheaper than some of these options that Syngenta has to offer, seem to falter in just a few weeks into the season. You run out of bang for your buck pretty quickly because you start cutting corners. I'm not going to sit here on some fake high horse and pretend that we don't have our own issues and that we've not cut corners in the past. If there's anyone who knows a thing or two about cutting corners, it's our farming operation. Back in the heyday of our cattle farm, which was before my time, you can see a beacon of them from those harvestors scattered across in different places. I think those guys, my uncle, my grandpa, my great-grandpa, they knew a thing or two about cutting corners to get the job done. It was a different time, it was a different era, and nowadays those things just don't work. Is there places where we probably could do a better job on our farm? Yeah, definitely. One place though that we have never seen an advantage for cutting corners, for pinching pennies, is when it comes to corn herbicide programs. We've had such success with Syngenta's offerings like Acuron and Lexar before that, that we continue to invest very heavily into our corn herbicide program to help win the fight against water hemp, because not only does it keep our cornfields clean, cleaner cornfields results in cleaner bean fields or less issues on the back end on your crop rotation. Honestly, herbicide programs like Acuron almost sell themselves when you look out across a field like this, weed-free, nice deep green. You know there's some serious yield potential out here. And the old cattle farm and the manure probably help a little bit with that. With products like Acuron by Syngenta, the better yield is the better deal. Its world-class herbicide performance, mixability, and crop safety provide long-lasting control against problematic weeds while not compromising the yield of your growing crop. The value is evident in the details. Minimize weeds, like you see out here in my fields, and crop damage while maximizing yields. At this point in the season, although our corn is not fully canopied to take over and choke out any weeds that may emerge, I know without a doubt that Acuron's firepower and long-lasting residuals have minimized the risk of weed breakouts long before this and long after this stage. And ultimately, it continues to provide insurance against weed germination and growth later into the growing season. Because the weeds don't just stop when you stop thinking about them. They're always trying to come up, and they're always trying to steal yield from your corn and soybeans. While we're on the topic of not cutting corners, I should say, even if you're using a premium effective product, whether it be Syngenta's Acuron or Store-in line of herbicides, we don't want to cut rates on that either. We want to run full label rates based on crop type, soil type, geographies, whatever applies to you. The issue is that if you come out here and only use half the labeled rate for the year of Acuron, which is 2.5 to 3 quarts an acre, and don't use that maximum rate throughout the growing season, you're allowing opportunities for weeds to survive, metabolize these herbicides that are working for us now, increasing that selection pressure and adding opportunities for them to become herbicide resistant to the things that work for us now. So even if we're using very effective products like Acuron and Store-in, we want to make sure that we're using full label rates, because even the best products aren't going to be as effective if you don't use them fully to ensure we get full termination and control of problematic weeds. Oh wait, I found one. It is a morning glory, and I think it's dead, but it's there. So there was a weed that tried to come up, didn't last very long. And for myself, I've been out the last day post-spraying some of that early planted corn. I've got a few more fields we're trying to get knocked out, and then the rest we're going to give another week or so before we put the herbicide down. I'd like the corn to be a little bit bigger, and in the heat of summer these residuals don't last as long, so if you can delay them and make more use out of the burn down, it's probably the best approach. Yesterday when I was spraying, I was fighting two issues. One being the wind. We were right at that cutoff speed, and for the most part we stayed below that, the gusts were. You just had to be kind of choosy about spraying on a field where there's beans next door downwind. It's kind of the hard part about post-spraying versus residual spraying up front with a lot of products. They're a lot more forgiving, so to speak. The other issue is that my boom height control is not working at all on corn. I don't know if the corn was too big and the wind was together causing confusion. I'm not exactly an expert, but manually running a 120-foot boom on contouring land is not fun. I definitely did some boom tillage in spots. The wind is blowing towards this field of beans over here. It's our field. I'm being a little cautious here. I moved over a row. Shouldn't have any drift issues. It's just now cracking through the surface. That flat stuff over there, super easy to spray without your boom control. This terraced ground right here gets a little ornery without, especially 120-foot boom. It's a lot to swallow, and I definitely get it in the dirt a few times. Well, I have good news and I've got bad news. Had Colton, the former Hagee mechanic at Alliance Tractor, actually mechanic of everything, he even did the repair work on our 780 that blew the hydraulic pump a couple of years back. Very well qualified mechanic. His expertise though is in sprayers. He's since gone independent, he's working on his own, and he's really the best person around you can call to work on a Hagee. Had him out this morning to look at my boom height control. I'm glad he got out here. The bad news is that he could not figure it out, and he's thinking it may be the NORAC controller. And the reason that's bad, if it is bad, is because the NORAC controller is like a $6,000 part to run my boom height control, which is unfortunate. He said it's not uncommon for them to go bad. They get corrosion in them. Spraying 32, it eats those things up. And we ordered one into Alliance Tractor, put one on in the morning, see if it fixes it, and if not, we can return it. Either way, I mean, $5,000 is a lot of money. If all we farmed were flat fields like this stretch right here, I'd say no way, I'll just run it manually. However, we've got a lot of fields and terraces where manual running just results in very poor application. Your booms hit the ground, they get too far off the ground. Oh well. Colton really is the best of the best. He went on his own because of development at our local John Deere dealership. And if you're in the southern central Illinois area, I would definitely not be afraid to give him a call. He works on everything. You just gotta look him up on Facebook. Mahnke Ag Repair. I believe it's M-A-H-N-K-E or M-A-N-H-K-E, one of the two. Nice guy, knows what he's doing. Oh, Dad. Still up to his normal planting antics. Look at this one. That's a doozy. Must not have the auto steer on. That's the controller right there sitting on the front of that valve body. Runs all of the height sensors, the boom automation. This is a prime example of where you want your automatic boom height control. You've got a big terrace. I'm going to be in the bottom of it, so my left boom is going to need to be up, and my right boom is going to need to be up. And then once I get out of it, it levels out over the hill. And if I don't get my booms down fast enough, I mean, I'll probably still get contact with just gravity, but I'm going to be spraying this product pretty high in the air. So it's in the center of the field, not really a drift concern, but you just feel like you're not doing as good of a job applicating. I'll do my best. I can't film because I literally need both hands. I almost need a third hand. Sitting here at the field where we saw the side dress bar this morning, we like to spray after it's side dressed because we don't want the side dress bar to disturb the soil at all. I don't know, that's a huge deal. It is a consideration. You can see I'm trying to run the auto calibration setup on the NORAC system. It's not even wanting to load. It's just not a good vote of confidence for the likelihood of not having to replace that controller down there. $6,000, that's quite a few clamps. That's going to be a big hit on the bottom line of the spray operation this season. We may be in the red. Holy cow, I found the cicadas back here by the railroad tracks. Look at them all. There's got to be tens of thousands of them. They're louder than the Hagee. I can hear them over the sound of the engine running. Okay, away from the cicadas and onto our last field of this batch of spraying. This is where we did the Storen trial, and we're going to complement it with the BASF Certain trial side by side. The Certain has a little bit of an advantage because it's getting applied 3 weeks later. Storen's claim to fame to Syngenta, though, is that it has the longest lasting residual on the market, so we're going to find out. Okay, let's go get her mixed up. In there, a little foaming. The nice thing about this system is that because I've already sprayed it, you can see it picks up where I sprayed the Storen, so my swath control will work through there, and that way when I punch in the Certain, which I'll have to add it. I've gotten a lot quicker at this. I'm not going to put everything in. I'm just going to put Certain. It's the most important piece of information. Got to wait. Okay, now you hit that. I'm going to sit here and let the precision reclaim system circulate a little bit before I get going, mix everything up good. I complemented the Certain, which is 3 1/4 ounces of Zidua or pyroxasulfone and encapsulated Sharpen with 6 ounces of generic Callisto, a pound or a quart of atrazine, and then a quart or 32 ounces of Roundup. I don't know why I clarified a quart versus 32 ounces. It's the same measurement. And then, of course, some surfactants, some AMS, and some NIS, which is more useful for when there's growing plants out here. This was worked recently enough. I'm not sure there will be any. It'll be kind of cool to see the side-by-side of Syngenta's new flagship herbicide, Storen, and then BASF's new residual-only option, mix-it-yourself type deal, Certain. The Certain has a little bit of an advantage because the Storen was put on 3 to 4 weeks ago, whereas the Certain is being put on after planting, right after emergence. I don't know if it's because the sun went away and I could just see it better, but this product almost looks driftier. It's a lot finer coming out, even at 30 psi. That's not very much pressure on the bin. This field's been a lot easier to spray without the boom height control because it's pretty flat. There are a few spots with some topography changes to them, but terraces are the worst, and don't have any here. Look at how dialed in I have those row shutoffs. Finally did something right this spring, got those set correctly. They look good about everywhere. One place in particular where the lack of auto boom control is really making me rip my head out is if I misread a spot, I don't adjust my boom correctly, and then I break a nozzle body, then I gotta get out and fix the nozzle body. Heck, at this pace, I'll have $5,000 in nozzle bodies on by the end of the spring. Might as well get the controller. have to worry about weeds coming up in that spot. I don't know where my screw is. The hardest part is you drop these darn screws. I've got more. You'd have to go get one. They've got to be around here somewhere. I don't think there'll be weeds next year either. Or soybeans. I'm only spraying the south 40 or 45 acres of this 95-acre field behind the main farm. There is a southern wind, and not only do we have one garden, we have two gardens now. So I'm gonna wait till a day where we have a northern wind to spray the rest of that. We have a field of soybeans to the south, so I thought I was better off getting the soybeans sprayed, or sorry, getting the corn sprayed when the wind is blowing away from the soybeans, then I'll come back and finish when the wind's the other way. Wow, that wind really picked up there at the end. Hopefully it didn't kill the gardens. I guess we'll find out in about 5 or 6 days. Running some rinse water through, clean my boom out. I'm done spraying corn for now. I don't know what the future holds, so I'm kind of purging out a little bit. You hear all those cicadas in there? I've trapped them in my radiator screen. Headed into Alliance Tractor this morning to go do some major damage to my bank account. Unfortunately, I own the sprayer. I make the sprayer payments. I get custom fees for running the sprayer, and I also have to pay for the sprayer parts. That's no fun. There's our part. Should I put the seatbelt on it? There you go. I don't want that to get damaged. I'm doing everything in my power right now to delay the inevitable, which is switching out that controller. I'm gonna help Dad hook up the little 8-row replant planter, because we do have some spots that are a little thin or non-existent from water damage. Who knows? Not sure Dad could have left the 7330 in a more inconvenient spot. Brand new no-till filters on the front. Practically a pristine planet. Not exactly the exact emerge.
This one that jumped here.
Yes, that chain. I think the chains on the units look pretty good. Like this drive chain here.
Is there one drive chain or two?
Probably two. It's a planner. These are the units for the planner.
I don't know what he's doing.
Stand in front of it, stay cheap. Don't have that stick so you don't poke your eye. Put it over there in the crack.
I can see you. You part of you. Yeah, I see you now. You better smile.
Yeah, that was a dumb question. I knew when I started. Dumb question. There goes the wide replant grid. I need some weight on the front of that tractor. Dad's gonna go put some corn in, some thin spots, some water damage spots. Not really a whole lot of areas that need it, but hate to leave something without a crop in it. If you're lucky, take a nap. Try not to blow away. Mow the yard, maybe. I literally just told Dad, you're good to go replant. The rain is dissipating. As the sprinkle is slowly turning into a rain out here. Oh well, a little mud on the replanter is not a big deal. Time to stop procrastinating. Might as well get this over with. I think I should probably take a picture first before I start unplugging stuff, because there's a lot of random wires to misplace. What is there? At least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 to 10 wires in here. Oh wait, those are on this solenoid body. I'm not sure what that is. 5 and there she is. $6,000. Holy moly. I don't know if I should be cleaning these off. Putting some kind of contact cleaner on them. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is the corrosion in here, and you can see these pins are kind of rotten, so to speak, on the inside. That middle pin in particular is the one that you can see the corrosion in. I don't know what that runs in particular, but definitely could have been a cause. He said once you see corrosion on those pins like that, it's probably corroded on the inside too. And that's why we're starting with this step as opposed to other things. I mean, he diagnosed anything minor it could have been, didn't see anything that stood out to him. It's amazing for something of this value, there's not a lot holding it on. Should I be spraying those? I feel like I should spray that with some contact cleaner. I think it's all plugged in. I'm gonna put this somewhere safe because there is still a possibility that that was not the issue, although that doesn't look good. Assuming this is the issue, I mean, I'm not gonna pretend that I haven't spent $6,000 on things in my life. Never anything that seems as frivolous as this height control sensor. Capital purchases maybe, whether it be a house or a vehicle or, you know, things that seem to have more substance to them. Still hoping that this is not it. Here goes nothing. The activation instructions say something about a flash drive. I don't have a flash drive. Maybe I just manually enter something. Not looking good. We've already gotten farther than we did with the other one. It looks like the system is already functioning better than it was before I replaced it. This NORAC that I just put on doesn't have the software for the 120-foot boom. I talked to Colton. I guess I can go to Hagee's website, download it, put it on a flash drive, and then there's a little port right here. I throw that in and I boot it back up and get the actual 120-foot boom software. So I will do that after I put some more water in this to dilute the tank a little bit. Okay, I'm officially conflicted, and also don't ask why I'm in a different t-shirt. You don't want to know. I talked to Colton about downloading software, and he said if it was working, you may just try plugging the other one back in, updating the software, like flashing the software back. And I've done that, and it seems to be working now. So I'm torn between just leaving the old one hooked in and then trying to spray corn, and if it goes haywire again, then be done with it. If it was a $500 part, I'd probably just go ahead and replace it, but it is a $6,000 part. I'm sure you heard me tell that multiple times, and I'd rather not replace it if it's not bad. If that makes sense. I've never been more confused and conflicted in my life here, because it seems to be working way better after unplugging it, plugging it back in, swapping it out, updating the software. Obviously, once we get out in corn again, it could not work as well, but it's working $6,000 well right now. I'm just running through the lot back and forth. The other thing is, in the NORAC system before, which I'm becoming an expert of it now, it wouldn't even pull up the setup. I mean, just sit there and say loading, and now that I've done this update, it pulls it right up. And this is the old controller I have in. It's got everything I need. I mean, I'm really hoping that I've saved myself $6,000 here. I'm not extremely confident. I've got the new one here in this box. There's that rain I've been asking for the last couple of days. Should take care of any beans in dry dirt. We're up to 1/4 of an inch so far. I think we'll end this with at least a ½ inch, which is a nice little boost for everything we have in the ground. There are a few farmers who are still trying to finish stuff up, so I hate to wish a rain when they've got stuff to do, but at the same time, we've got crops that could use a rain, and we're getting one. What do you think? A well-appreciated inch of rain over Memorial Day weekend, and it's amazing how fast it dries back off when you actually get a stretch of dryness and heat. If you were trying to farm out here in another 2 or 3 days, you could be planting again. That's the liberty provided by the warmth of May that you don't get in April when it keeps raining. It dries a lot quicker. It's been about 5 days, 6 days since I sprayed that 90 acres of BSF Certain. Had the pound of atrazine, 6 ounces of Callisto, quarter Roundup in it. And you can tell almost to the line where I sprayed this stuff, and man, it does not look good. I'm always open for trying new things, but look at this corn. I'm actually genuinely concerned about how that looks. Hope we didn't just kill 90 acres by trying a new product. It's fun when it's free until it costs you money. Our sweet corn patch is along the outside. I didn't want to gamble on it. And you can see the outside in row, which obviously has not been sprayed with anything, a lot greener than out here in the field. I sure hope this didn't cost us any yield. It sure torched that water hemp that the field cultivator missed though. That one's dead. That's probably not really the Certain, more of the Callisto doing its magic. I'm not exactly thrilled about how that corn looks today. Corn's pretty robust. It'll probably be all right. I just hate to hurt corn like that. As you can see, we're switching gears today while the ground dries. Gonna haul some old crop corn finally. Look at it from this angle. You can almost tell to the row where I sprayed that stuff. This is very quickly just turning into one of those days already. Hook the grain trailer up, and of course the power tarp won't turn on. Have to do some diagnosing. Was like a greenish corroded color.
Which one? Oh, you cleaned them with what? Screwdriver?
A brush, and I beat the rest out. Dad happened to be here. He had a can of electric contact cleaner, and that seemed to do the trick. I ran out of mine. I probably need to restock. A beautiful day to haul corn. The only thing you could really ask for is a better price than what we're getting. Better than it was 2 months ago, just not as good as it would have been last fall. We've still got quite a bit of old crop corn percentage-wise, and beans. I'm not sure if this will even show up on the camera. After I ran out of that Certain, we're switching to beans next time we spray those March beans. And I air purged while moving. I don't do it stopped, but I did air purge out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if that corn's not as good as dead, based on how the other stuff looks like at the regular labeled rate. Everything else looks phenomenal. Obviously, this has not been sprayed yet. It's just really hard to beat the emergence, the uniformity from corn planted in the heat of May. With no big rain events on it, it'll pop up evenly, nicely, and it'll look beautiful. This will be ready for a side dress once the ground dries up a hair. Jeff's also hauling with me, and Chris is out mowing roadsides today. We got a pretty good combination going. It's kind of like payday, except for it's not my grain I'm hauling. I'm just doing my job. Add another thing to the list. I just started loading, and Chris called and said he's having some kind of issue with his mowing tractor. Jeff's at the elevator, and the good Lord only knows what Dad's up to, so I'm gonna go help Chris out. Maybe if I play my cards right, I show back up, Jeff will have my truck loaded for me. It's like all of the legwork, and I get to do the easy part, which is driving to the elevator. Here's our damsel in distress, stranded roadside for some reason. Probably couldn't mow through all the cicadas over here by the railroad tracks. Dad has about lost his mind with the co-op that sprays a bunch for our neighbors. We've had all sorts of issues with them. They're the ones who smoked a quarter mile of our corn at a different location a couple of years back. They were about to post-spray the corn west of my dad's house. We've got beans all along here, and my mom has almost a lifetime's work of landscaping and flowers and all of that stuff. They were about to post-spray this with a 20-mile-an-hour wind out of the west, so blowing straight towards his yard, completely off label by 10 miles an hour. But these guys just don't care. If they're there to spray it, they're going to spray it. They'd rather pay $20,000 in damages than just wait a day or two to spray the field. It's just ridiculous. It's complicated because it's custom application through the co-op. We like our neighbors. We get along with them great, really. No problems at all. But they're hiring outside people to come in and do their spraying. And like I said, those people don't care at all. I mean, Dad had to tell them to stop, I believe. He took the gator to tell him, like, are you really going to spray this field today? You shouldn't be spraying at all. I'm not going to say that hypothetically 20-mile-an-hour wind, if you're spraying upwind from another field of corn, technically illegal, yes. However, the possibility of damage, very little, because corn sprayed next to corn, not a big deal. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be perfect. You just got to use your head. I mean, if it's that windy and it's blowing towards something sensitive flowers, I mean, Callisto would absolutely cook some rose bushes. That's just, it's not a good idea. Why hustle yourself into paying damages versus just waiting? I know the field needs sprayed. I'm not going to argue that their tillage didn't get all the weeds. It's happened on our fields too, but they can wait a day. They can wait 2 days. It's just a nightmare of windy. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was a 10-mile-an-hour wind, it was on label. It isn't, though. There was a 20-mile-an-hour wind, and Dad about lost it. So it's a good thing that he got a hold of them. He called the farmer, told them they probably ought to not spray that unless they want to pay damages. Not the farmer, because it's not their fault, but it's the easiest way to get in contact with the co-op is to call the customer. We are going to be switching gears once again today to post-spray our March planted soybeans. You got to keep in mind that these things were planted almost 8 weeks ago. It took them about a month to come out of the ground, and we sprayed them right after planting. So the residual herbicide has held for every bit of 8 weeks other than the high pressure spots. There's a few troublemakers coming through. Water hemp there, water hemp there. They're scattered around here. So we're going to go ahead and lay down some Liberty, 36 ounces. Also throw in Roundup with that, and another round of residual to hopefully burn the rest of this back and then hold this off until the rows close. I would guesstimate row closure in 2 weeks or so, maybe less. Soybeans and corn, like any plant, they grow exponentially. So every day they grow faster. So they're putting more mass on day by day in this period than they did in the first couple weeks of the growing season. And it's time to get them sprayed, because once this water hemp gets big, it sure is a rascal to kill. We're basically ready to spray. Jeff's up there at Helena picking up a big old load of Liberty to spray these beans. Switch to the RTK GPS receiver so it'll remember where I ran. I had to measure all of the height sensors distance off the ground because I recalibrated it, and you have to manually enter the reading to make sure it's right. Some of them were 2 to 3 inches off, and a couple of them were 10 inches off. So we should get better spray performance. Everything's cleaned out, just waiting on Jeff to show back up, and then we will figure out ultimately whether or not we need to replace that $6,000 controller or not. Just back with our Liberty, we're loading up. Got about 320 acres of spread. We're loaded. Jeff's gonna move out of the way so I can calibrate this RTK receiver. And I got the agitator running the precision reclaim system to make sure if there's any corn chemical residue in there, it's nice and diluted by the time we start spraying. We don't exactly have a farm lot that's conducive to this advanced TCM calibration. You have to drive like 100 and some feet one way, and then 100 and some feet on the same line the other way. Oh well, does it work? I violated the #1 rule of spraying beans after spraying corn and cleaning out. That rule is starting right next to the road. So we'll see how this pans out for me. Okay, got about 60 acres done, topped off the tank. Once I get to about 800 gallons in her, based off of that digital readout, I'm gonna throw in 4 bags of this Corteva product, Nutritia in. It's a nitrogen fixating bacteria you apply to the plants. They live together symbiotically. And we tried it last year, didn't really see a whole lot of positive results, but didn't think we really had a top-end yield environment to where the soybeans needed all that extra nitrogen. We're gonna go ahead and try it again on 40 acres here. Hopefully whatever was used to treat the water, because it's municipal water, doesn't kill the bacteria in there, because that is a consideration when you're applying microbials to your tanks, your water, because some water's treated to not have microbes. This is another spot where that reclaim system's really nice, because I can throw it in, agitate, charge the boom around, and know that the minute I start spraying again, the sprayer is hot and ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and add this to our list. Doesn't look like we have it. Liberty and what's that stuff called? Nutritia. I don't know, it's sitting on the floor right there. I'm definitely a big believer that the next frontier for farmers in yield, soil health, plant health, all that, are microbials like this. These biologicals that a lot of companies sell. You go to a show like Commodity Classic and it seems like half of the displays are for different microbial products like this. Fortunately, that means there's a lot of innovation going on, and at the same time, these companies, Corteva included, are probably making pretty darn good money on these things. Probably easily repeatable, reproducible, and some of them I think have merit, others are just kind of snake oil. We'll see with this one. Just wrapping up this 220 acre field. I did exactly what I said I would never do again last year and sprayed it crossways. Although it was rough, it just made logistical sense and I could load along the road. March beans look good everywhere except for where the water ran across them when we got some of those early rains, big rains. The dark dirt definitely looks better, normally does. Light dirt, it's okay. Either way, they're still light years ahead of beans planted in late May. I also sprayed that ATS out here, the ammonium thiosulfate, and as of right now, you can't tell any difference. And that strip is like right out there, another couple rounds. Maybe it'll show up on the yield monitor, maybe it won't. I was just expecting some visual enhancement at the bare minimum. I'm gonna wait till we post-spray more corn to make a definitive statement, but for now, the boom height control seems to be working fine. So I'll probably go ahead and return this $6,000 controller, hope they keep it in stock, and if it acts up when I'm spraying corn in the next couple days, because I'm gonna have to switch back, I'll go ahead and put it on. That corn we post-sprayed with Callisto, atrazine, Certain, I talked about a little bit ago. It's greening up some. I still don't like the way that looks. Not great. Just finished up my Liberty spraying for the day here around the main farm. I sprayed all the early planted stuff and then a few fields that we didn't get a chance to get a residual down on, and I'll show you a little bit how bad those fields get. Helena's running south of the farm side dressing corn. We're making progress slowly. We cleaned the sprayer out, got all that Liberty, and now we're back to post-spraying corn behind the main farm. Got a northeasterly wind here, so should miss both gardens, hopefully. Corn looks good. It also looks like that notorious burr cucumber has germinated, so we should get plenty of termination on that with this Acuron herbicide. It's also a double benefit of going from Liberty to Pioneer corn, because there's a little less concern about killing the corn with contamination, because most, if not all, Pioneer corn has glufosinate or Liberty tolerance. Look at all that burr cucumber up there. You guys remember 2 years ago the nightmare we had out here trying to harvest this corn. Hopefully this delayed planting season, this post-app, holds it back. The height sensor is working great. You want to talk about an easy experience. Post-spraying corn that's about 6 inches tall, relatively smooth ground, and not having to control your boom the entire time. Running 16 mile an hour, 15 gallon an acre, laying this down. Not a lot of weeds out here other than that burr cucumber, which I'm happy to see it go. Whew, made unbelievably quick work of that first 200 plus acres. The issue is that Helena's loading system, their computers are down right now, so I'm pretty much shut down until they figure that out. They say they have multiple IT people working on it right now, And to be honest with you, I'm probably the least of their concerns because I'm pretty easygoing. There's a lot of 32 coming out of that load system right now. Soybean early post maybe. Corn post, obviously. They've got 3 or 4 of their own rogators. Who knows how many side dress bars running right now. Just a bottleneck that you don't want to have. And what's going to happen is when they fire everything back up, or if they get the computer working, they could run into an issue where they've got a 2-hour wait to load because they've got 20 trucks sitting there. They can load fast when there's not a lot of people piled up, but if a lot of people get piled up, it's not going to be good. Fast forward about 3 hours, Helena got their computer working. Jeff went and picked up a 300-acre load. We're going to spray some more corn, assuming it got loaded right. Guess we won't know for a week, unless it's gramoxone, then we'll know tonight. A ton of cicadas at this field, north of Mattoon. Good looking corn though. This Beck's corn up here is about as photo-esque as it could be. I'd say we got 99% emergent stand. Nice healthy green color. It does have that 32% nitrogen sprayed on prior to planting, so that does help with the appearance. I don't see any reason, as long as we don't get an exceptionally dry summer, why we aren't going to be looking at a massive corn crop still on some of these fields. Got about 600 acres sprayed today. Would have been more if Helena wasn't shut down for 3 hours. No big deal though, we're not really in a hurry. You know it's a good end to the day when you don't run out of chemical on your last field, especially when you're 20 miles away from home. It's beautiful out here. Corn looks great. Ready to charge these things for the ride? I'm assuming they're terminated. They're all upside down. I think that corn we sprayed with the Certain a few days ago is finally starting to come out of its bleaching chlorosis. I don't even know what you call it. Some bad spots that are recovering just don't look great. Not a fan of the crop response on that one. Maybe I did something wrong. I don't know. One of my favorite things about spraying Liberty is that if it's warm out, you see a response pretty quick. This was sprayed yesterday morning. I can't remember. You can already see the water hemp, the lamb's quarters, starting to kind of char up a little bit. This is exceptionally weedy. Yes, I did have a residual down. The problem is that the sweet corn patch was here last year. We move it back and forth to what side of the road has the corn, and sweet corn patches are notorious for having weeds in them, especially if you plant multiple plantings, like plant them in April, May, and June. It's just hard to keep the weeds back, and you don't want to spray a bunch of herbicide while there's ears on the plant. So usually got to fight that for a while. It's been a good couple days of running. I'm happy with the progress we've made. It's going to be windy the next few days, so I don't know if I'll keep spraying. I've got everything done that I thought desperately needed done, or at least needed done in a reasonable time frame. And we'll wait and see what Mother Nature does for us. Maybe I can fire up if it's not too windy tomorrow. Still waiting to see if Alliance Tractor is going to take back that $6,000 controller or not. They seemed hesitant today when Dad took it in for me while I was spraying, so we may be at $6,000 regardless. Even if I have to pay a restocking fee, that's still better than $6,000 for a part I didn't need. Yeah, anyways, the video's kind of dragging on at this point. Who knows how many days I've been filming. The camera is awesome. I love making videos for you, but at the same time, sometimes it just gets a little bit cumbersome and feels like quite the burden at times. And it's hard. I wish we had someone else on the farm that would film and add some spice and do those things, but no one else has any interest in it, and I feel like I'm just repeating the same thing every year at this point. So trying to keep it going. I'm gonna take off, everyone. As always, I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!